Good morning, it's Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, and today we're going to paint some Bleeding Heart. This is a request by a viewer, and I hope you find it enjoyable. What we're going to use are watercolor pencils, and I'm using the Inktense brand. That's Inktенse, because I say it weird, I think. So the colors I have are Fuchsia, which is number 700, Green Leaf, which is 1600, Peacock Blue, which is 820, Golden Yellow, which is 230, and Dark Chocolate, which is 1930. So I'm only using these 5 colors today. And I'm actually going to sketch onto my watercolor card that I've clipped onto my piece of foam core right with the pencils. That way I won't have any pencil marks when I'm done. And there, that's why, basically. Oh my gosh, it's early Saturday morning. I'm very excited because it is beautiful outside. It is like 40 degrees already. I don't even have the heater on down here in my craft area. And I get to spend the day roller skating with my daughter, so that just makes for a really nice day. So what I've done with this green leaf color, which you probably can't really tell the color from the video until I add water, I'm just kind of making this wave line, and that's going to be the branch that our Bleeding Heart will hang from, and I'm just going to put a few little stems coming down, and I want to put an odd number, so I'm going to sneak one here in on the end, but I want to make sure I don't have too many because I want to be able to finish this for you in the video. Now on the other end of that branch, I want to work in some of this this dark chocolate, which is kind of a reddish brown. I just want to sneak in a little bit of that in here. I prefer to add most of my color on the dry paper so I don't get any hard lines. Just one of the little things you can think about when you're doing your work with the watercolor pencils. And also the other reason I'm using the Inktense versus the regular watercolor pencils is because I really like the vibrant color, but also I might want to put a background in later. And the neat thing about the Inktense is that you can do that and it won't lift the color you already put, as long as you don't have it too strong. Sometimes I've noticed with the reds, if I paint it really dark and then I go over it with a wet brush later, I will end up lifting some of the color, but generally with normal applications you won't. So here I've kind of made this kind of heart shape. It reminds me of the monster from the old Looney Tunes. Remember that big red furry monster? It's kind of the shape that you want to put there. And then we've got a white area here, but it's, you know, obviously we have the white of the paper. So I'm putting that little yellow part in the middle. And then I'm going to use a very light, Peacock Blue, which is actually kind of an ultramarine color. If you're using another brand, it may be called ultramarine blue. This looks very ultramarine to me. I'm just going to throw in these little bits down there. So let's draw it again together because I was gabbing about something else. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to start by making this little kind of U shape there. That's kind of where the stem intersects with the flower. And then we're going to do one bump, one half of the heart, one bump. And then we'll do one bump on this side. Okay, so we've got that heart shape. See, it's very easy. You know, when you're confused about how to draw something, say, okay, what are the easy shapes? What would Lindsay do? What would she tell me? She'd tell me to look for the easy shapes. So the easy shape would be a heart. Now look, what's this shape over here? This kind of like a teardrop, right? Okay, so, you know, don't be intimidated when you want to draw something. Say, okay, I'm going to find the easy shapes. I'm going to break it down and it's going to be easy. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Same thing with drawing. I'm a vegetarian, by the way. I wouldn't eat an elephant. But just, you know, you've heard that saying, right? I don't think I made that up. I think that's a pretty normal saying. I don't know. This one, let's see. Well, let's do that one just in the blue there. Maybe we'll peek a little bit of yellow in there. You got to be careful when you're putting yellow near blue because you're going to get green. What I'm going to do is pause it and draw the other ones in here because my water pump just started and that's very irritating to listen to. So we'll be back after I've finished drawing 3 more of those little bleeding hearts, okay? All right, the water pump is off. That's just one of the challenges of filming on the weekends. You got the rest of the family members about the house doing their thing, and it's very loud. Okay, so I also wanted to show you how to draw the closed bleeding heart here because that was a little different, so I did save this one out. So you're going to start it just like before with your little divot for the top of the flower. Then you're going to draw the heart, but you're going to draw like a regular heart, and it's going to be closed at the bottom. And then you're going to draw the little slit up the center there, and then you're going to draw kind of like I would make it kind of like one teardrop here and then kind of divide it in half. All right, so just get that basic shape down there. So we've got our flowers here. Now we're going to add some color to the dry paper, just with our pencils. It's going to get darker when we add the water with these ink tints, and we can drag a lot of this color around. So you don't want to have too much color. I'm just putting some color around the stem and on the bottom of the flowers, and also on the these little hangy bits here. And it's easier to add your color right now. It's going to be a lot smoother when we go in. So if we have to add color later, what we'll do is we'll just we'll wet our brush and we'll touch it to the tip of our pencil, so we get a nice smooth a bit of color. And you can also, like, I don't like to sharpen my pencils very much because I don't want to waste that beautiful pigment. So you can refine it a lot when you go to add the water. As long as you have a nice brush, you'll be able to refine it quite a bit. Now the brushes I'm going to use, I'm going to use a number 6 round synthetic, which it's got a very springy tip, and I've also have this one just in case I need some help pushing the pigment around. It's a number 4 flat, and you can find those fairly inexpensively at a craft store or any store that has toll painting supplies, or you may have some in your stash already. You can use any of your watercolor or acrylic brushes with your pencils. I just avoid anything too scratchy and stiff. You won't want like the hog bristle brushes for that. All right, and I think I want to add a little bit of that chocolate brown to my stem before I start adding the water. Okay, now I'm going to use my number 6 round and just get it wet, and then what I do is I pinch the bristles just to get off any extra water, at least to start. And then I'm going to start here in the darkest part of my flower. And I'll be able to tell on this first one whether I have enough pigment in there or not. I think I might want some more. And you can see where you lay down the color, it's going to be a lot darker, but it's very easy to blend it out. And you can always go in and add more, so that's a relief. And you just liquefy your paint. Now I think I want a little bit more dark color down there, so what I'm going to do is wet my brush, and I'm going to pick up some pigment from the tip of my pencil. And I know some companies say don't do this, but I have never had a problem doing this with my Inktense pencils or my other Derwent watercolor pencils. As for other brands, I don't have. I have one little set of Faber-Castell ones I got on clearance that I use in my when I go scrapbooking, but I actually haven't even used them yet. They were like $3 or something. It was crazy deal. All right, I want to put some little veins in there while I'm at it. So what I need to do is find my little credit card scraper. I always say those old gift cards or anything that old credit cards. I just kind of keep them and I cut them up in pieces. So I have some nice little sharp points on there, and I just use them to scratch in little details. It works great. All right, I'll bring that up a little bit closer so you can see that, hopefully. All right, and then we're going to keep doing the pink, and we're going to switch over to the next flower. We're just going to keep doing the exact same thing. If you want to have a little bit of a shadow, like I feel like it needs to be a little bit darker there, you can pick up a little bit of that blue and kind of add some of that in there too. That'll help deepen the color. I would just let it mix on the paper, and you can see where you put those veins in, how much darker it is, how it really grabs the color. You'll be able to see it on yours even if you can't see it on my screen. And just as a reminder, you can always push a little button down at the bottom of the video screen, and it will make it full screen so you can see it in better detail on your computer. If you're watching on a phone, I don't know how you do that. I don't watch videos on my phone. The screen's too small. I can watch them on my Kindle, all right, but even then, it seems so small. I guess I'm just old school, or just old, I'm not sure which. And I'm pinching my brush every time I go to get water, just to keep it from getting too much water. These are going to dry really quickly. Again, I'm going to go in with more of the fuchsia. Now if you're doing, I wouldn't do this right over your paper, but I am, just so you can see, just because you might end up splashing some color where you don't want it. I usually end up adding speckles at the end of my paintings anyway, because I like the look of that, but just be warned in case you don't. And I can even put in that blue, a little bit of blue. I don't even have to wash my brush off. because it's just going to remove blue. It's not going to really, ooh, that's a lot. Is that a little bit more of the fuchsia there? Whew, that's dark. There, that's better. And you can alter the colors to your preference. If you prefer to have it a little more purple or a little more red, you can go ahead and use the colors that you like best because it's your picture. And again, with the scratching, I'm gonna put in those little veins. And it's very subtle. It'd be very hard to paint veins this detailed. And just keep on trucking with the paint. And hopefully, I'm debating whether I want to pause it here or not. What I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to paint this quickly, and then we'll move on to the other parts of the flower because we're only at 10 minutes. If you feel like I'm rushing too much and you want to pause the video, go right ahead, and then you can start it back up again when you're ready. So that's always an option. If you ever feel like I'm rushing through, like I'm going to rush through these last three because the technique's the same, and I don't want to make a really long video for you. But I don't want to pause it either because sometimes when I pause it, people complain that they don't understand what I've done. So I figured, you know, you can always scroll through this part if it seems too tedious, or you know, if you're painting right along with me, then it shouldn't be an issue. And again, going with the extra pigment. I love how you have this option when you're painting. I feel like the water pump's going to come back on again. I just heard some water being used upstairs. Oh well, I was complaining about it to my husband the other day, saying, "Oh, if I make it big, I'm gonna build a studio, and it's gonna be quiet." And he's like, "Really, Lindsay? If that's your biggest complaint during the day is that you've got noise in your studio and it's cold, then you got a pretty good life." And I'm like, "Well, I can't disagree there." It's all perspective. All right, a little bit of the blue. So see, you can jump around if you're painting pretty quickly. You can just keep jumping around in there. And this is like, your watercolor pencils are like having a little palette, just like, watercolor markers are like having a whole set of different color of ink pads, Just think about how many ways you can use your supplies so that they work for you. Sometimes when you're not happy with the supply, it's just because you haven't really given it a chance to see what it can do for you. And after it dries, you could layer on more color, but you won't be able to really blend what's already there too much because these are the Inktense pencils. Go and scrape in my lines while I'm at it. For the subtle veins. Starting to feel like spring out there. Alright, so now what we're going to do is work on the other parts of the flower. So for the white parts, we sketched it in with that really light blue. So that's great because then we can all we have to do is add a little bit of water. We don't have to do anything else. It's just going to give us the subtle hint. And you can see, I mean, we wouldn't want any more blue than that in there. That's really almost, that's almost too dark. And I think what I'll do is grab a paper towel, which I swear I just put them over here. Hold on a minute, I gotta find a paper towel. Well, I got a tissue anyway, and I'm just gonna kind of blot off some of that color. It's a little darker than what I want it, but that's all right. Tissue works wonders. And maybe just add a little bit in there. Just want to kind of give it a little bit of contrast, and then go ahead and add the yellow. I want to add a little dab of yellow in there. I didn't really have any in that flower. Now the reason I don't go in with my pencil on the paper in this case is because I don't want to have a hard line. Now for the stalk here, the branch that they're on, I'm just gonna bring my brush right over what I already added, and then I am going to just bring. That's another good reason to have a tissue. You can actually just kind of touch your brush down on it if you feel like you have too much water there. Helps you with the control. Now the reason I like a round brush, excuse me, when I'm watercoloring is that I can press down and look, I can press down and get the whole width of that branch, but I can work on the tip and get these tiny little stems here. So, round brush is so versatile. Now I do want a little bit more intense color, so I'm going to make my brush a little bit wetter so that I could pull some color off the tip here. Get it nice and nice and inky, and just go right in there and paint as if I was painting with watercolors. And you know, you can mix your watercolors with your Inktense pencils if you want, but if you decide to wash over it with something, your watercolors are going to lift unless you're using a really staining color. So just keep that in mind if you feel that you want to mix and match. Absolutely. You know, that's the great thing about art, is you can mix everything. You can mix everything you have up. You can use one supply to build on another supply. So it's not like you bought like for instance, a set of twinkling H2Os, and now you can just use those with, you know, by themselves. No, mix them with what you have. Always see how you can use your supplies with each other, because then it's like multiplication. It's like you multiply your Inktense pencils by your twinkling H2Os, and you get this infinite variety of crafty goodness, I think, anyway. All right, I'm going to pause this and dry this, and then we're going to put a background in there. How exciting is that? All right, let's add a background in. I've dried this with my heat gun, so you know your paper's dry when you feel it and it's warm to the touch. I think I might just grab a bigger brush here just to throw in, just to wet the background, but you can use what you have. And I'm just gonna do sections at a time, because like this top section doesn't touch any other part, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of ultramarine blue up here, a little yellow ochre. It makes a very dull green. A little sap green in there too. I just want a kind of out of focus, soft background that will enhance the colors that I already have there. And these are just my regular watercolors. And see, if I go over that branch, it's not a big deal, because the Inktense pencils are not going to run. And so I'm just gonna kind of go in and around the flowers. I can even go right over the stems. I think I might do that actually. And then when I go in with my brush, I'll I'll take care to not to paint over the pink areas, because that would get a little muddy. Just because I'd be glazing over with a greenish color over the pink, and that wouldn't look as that wouldn't look vivid. I want the green right up next to it though. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully my head isn't in the right way there when I'm doing that. Just kind of throw in my color. And I'm just letting the colors mix on the paper. I'm kind of alternating the colors that I grab. Mostly green and yellow ochre. But I don't like to blend it out too smoothly. I like to have the backgrounds kind of mottled and broken and just kind of mushy, so that it makes the foreground look more in focus, kind of like a photograph. Like when you shoot a photograph with a shallow depth of field, and then you have something in sharp focus and the rest is kind of in contrast. Always rinse your brush off before you grab fresh color from your palette. The yellow kind of is nice. It kind of almost looks like sun, and the blue kind of looks like blue sky, I think anyway. Kind of gives you that springy, summery feeling. I want to add some more water down here. I like to work fairly quickly so my background stays blended. And the nice thing about working on a small piece like this is that you can get it done in a fairly short amount of time. And I try, as long as you keep the areas you're working wet, you don't have any dry edges and wet edges, then you won't end up with the hard lines. If you have puddles, you'll get what's called blooms, and that can be what you want, and sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. So, you know, just something to keep in mind. I kind of like the look of the blooms in some pictures, and sometimes I don't. So that's really dark. I want to water that down a little bit. And your watercolors are going to dry lighter, so just keep that in mind. And feel free to tip your paper as you go. See, I'm just kind of adding my color in here and there, and you can also reclaim some edges that maybe are not what you originally wanted, just by kind of drawing that dark line right up to it. And I'm always turning my paper when I'm working. So I usually, if I'm going to tape my paper down or clip it down, I have it on a board so I can tip it and move it and get at it from different angles. It's a lot easier to approach that way. And a little, like, don't be afraid of a little bit of white showing here and there. That little sparkle is what adds kind of a liveliness to watercolors that other paintings don't always have. I think I want that line down there. Yeah, I like that spontaneity of watercolors. Well, that does it for me. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this video. Continue on painting the background. And I want to thank you for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.